How do I start my fitness journey? First big step is to just start, make that decision and show up. We created hundreds of classes, probably thousands of classes, right? Cult Live became, one of the biggest fitness app in the country. At some point, over 1 million people were working out every single day. So we did, while we were in lockdown, we got those cameras at our houses. And in the first session, I shot the whole class one attempt. I went back to the camera to see how it's come out, and I realized it auto shuts at 28 minutes. I had no idea. One day we were running gyms where people will come and it'll be like a daytime disco, literally. People spoil their relationship with food or exercise is because they did so much of it. For somebody who's new, it takes about 6 weeks to build that neuromuscular facilitation. So that mind-muscle connection happens, it takes 6 weeks. All the strength and hypertrophy gains are happening for you to build your strength and for you to build muscle mass. Hello, I am Mukesh Bansal. Welcome to SparX. Our guest today is Rishabh Telang. Rishabh is the original co-founder of Cult. In last decade, Rishabh has played a pivotal role in shaping the fitness landscape in the country. He started Cult as a single group workout center, which has now grown into over 600 centers. During his 7 years at Cult, Rishabh has designed a lot of new and innovative workout formats. He has recruited and trained thousands of trainers, and he continues to guide and inspire millions of people in their fitness journey. Rishabh is an active evangelist for fitness in India. He talks a lot about why fitness is super important in all of our lives, what are best practices, different tools that we can incorporate, and he has a lot of useful input to share for everybody from a beginner to a really advanced fitness trainer. He's among the topmost fitness experts in the country. He's a practitioner himself. He's continuously tinkering, learning new things. He also has a deep understanding of human body, human physiology, and some of the best practices that have come up in last 10 years or so. In early part of his career, Rishabh was an active MMA fighter. He was fighting all these amateur fights, which took him to different parts of the world, where he connected with some of the top fighters, trainers, coaches, and also visited some of these extreme fitness training centers around the world. He was able to pick up best practices from those centers and bring into original Cult, which has created a very unique signature style, which is a critical part of why Cult continues to be so popular around the country today. In this episode, we talk about early days of Cult, how Rishabh put together the initial model of group workout, how he invited trainers from around the world and created a very, very unique vibe and very deeply committed, passionate culture around fitness. We look into importance of training and movement in everyday lifestyle, why all of us need to move throughout the day, why strength training, cardio, mobility, flexibility is all very important. It doesn't matter who you are, at what age you are. Rishabh talks about why we all must take our fitness super seriously. We also look into science of movement and training. What has modern science taught us about human physiology? How can be more informed by science so that we design fitness programs which are tailored to our unique needs and are able to adopt fitness as a habit for a long period of time. We also look into business of fitness. Today, fitness industry is relatively small in the country. We have only 0.5% penetration compared to nearly 20% penetration in the West. We have a long way to go, but Rishabh and Cult are doing their part in growing fitness awareness in the country and building very unique, relevant, customized solution that the country needs. It was great fun to talk to Rishabh, to revisit good old days, how Cult came together, how we made progress together over the last 7 years, and how we are collectively excited about what we can do for fitness in the country. It was great to revisit some of the best practices, tools, which are, I think, relevant for everybody watching this episode. I'm pretty sure you will learn a lot from this and enjoy the conversation. Rishabh, welcome. Really looking forward to talking to you about everything about fitness, our journey together at Cult. We have done a lot of things, lots of ups and downs. But I want to ask you, very first time I met you, I walked to the gym with a broken rib. What were you doing?
Yeah, so I think that was apologies.
Finally. I waited 7 years for this.
And it was, of course, the beginning of Cult, and you were, of course, one of the first few members. very embarrassing experience for me. And then, so what happened was when you walked into the gym, I don't know if you remember, but I took your trial.
Right.
And you came across as a very fit and driven individual.
And I had this thing of I really want to learn mixed martial arts without knowing anything about mixed martial arts. It just appeared cool.
Yeah, it just, I think you just wanted to push your limits. That's what I took away from that 1 hour of interaction. And then everybody at the gym, even other trainers, which was a very small team at that time, realized that, Mukesh really wants to push himself. And he's not like a lifestyle fitness enthusiast. He's more on the athletic side of things. So I think people ended up pushing you a lot more than they should have. And it was not about pushing. I think the pairing happened with the...
Yeah, I'll tell you like the way I recall, because since I was the one with the broken rib, I have better recollection than you. So it was, I think, set of rugby drills. And I was paired with this huge guy. I think he must have been 100 kg, 6 feet 4 inches, so literally towering above me. And this rugby drill was that I had to hold a rugby ball as tightly as can. And this guy is supposed to snatch it out of me.
Yeah.
And I think he was competitive, I was competitive. And I was determined to not let go of rugby ball. And the way drill was staged is you can do whatever you want. You can, fall on the floor, roll on the floor, but, defend the rugby ball as if your life depends on it. So I was doing that, and I was very competitive. I didn't want to lose. So, after 1 minute of wrestling, I was finally on the floor. There was this rugby ball on my chest, and this guy is on top of me, and he was trying all out. At some point, I felt something snap. And I thought, okay, it's maybe a small muscle cramp or something. But the pain didn't go away. 2 days later, I went for an X-ray, and I figured there was a hairline fracture in the rib. But I still, there was something about the cult vibe. It was very first center. I think you started it a few months ago. But despite the broken rib, I felt, your passion, the kind of trainers you had, there's something very different about the gym, which brought me back. I came back for second and third class, and we started talking, and eventually, we ended up working together, Cult. We'll talk more about that. Do you remember your very first class when you were teaching people?
Yeah, it was...
How many people were there in the class?
There were about 3 people in that class.
And this was which year?
This was again around 2013 mid-type.
So 2013, you have your first class and 3 people show up.
Yeah.
Today, Cult conducts, I think, close to 2,000 classes every day. 100,000 people show up.
Yeah.
Only 10 years. And this, again, that power of compounding, right? You believed, there's something you enjoyed doing. I think you were probably initially doing it because you loved doing it. You didn't have did you have a number in mind that one day I want to teach these many people?
No, it was just purely enjoying.
Right. So you were doing what you enjoyed doing. You kept getting better at it. I'm sure you got a lot of lucky breaks along the way, and you kept improving. Yeah. And today you're, 1 lakh people show up in cult gyms every day. Yeah. And I have no doubt, I think there's going to be a day where 1 million people, 10 lakh people will show up, right? Yeah. And that's, I think, other big part of impact journey, right? One does not necessarily start with a very big vision. I think what's important, exactly, what you saw in your journey, that finding that, preferably early on, what do you really love, and doing it for the sake of doing it because you enjoy. You said even this was probably bad for you to spend 3 hours in gym, but you felt so good spending those 3 hours in the gym.
Yeah.
Similarly, when you took your first class, instead of it being a drag, you were also not even getting paid, but still enjoyed, making a difference in those. And here you are, right? I mean, it's being part of by far the largest, fitness chain in the country, continue to grow, and more importantly, really creating, positive impact in people's life. So, you started, taking these classes, etc. And you said you were going around the world, you were getting exposed to different types of formats. But what was that moment where do you remember when the day you resigned, were there any apprehensions, fears of what is going to happen? I don't know what kind of savings you had at that time. Did you have long runway? Like this, walk us through your mental state when you send your resignation.
Didn't have much of a runway. I had some savings. I had a home loan, which I just thought, let me just figure a way to clear that off.
Right.
So that when I leave my job and I'm out of, there's no salary coming in, at least there is no liability.
Right.
On me. So yeah, that happened.
So you cleared the loan.
I cleared.
And what was the initial capital you started with first to start Cult?
It was 45 lakhs in the first center.
So you put 45 lakhs, and did you have any your runway was what, 6 months, 1 year? Like how long you thought you could support yourself?
Didn't think about it honestly. Didn't have, like I said, didn't have much of a runway. But then didn't, like I said, I didn't have liabilities.
Right.
Still was in. I had some peace of mind with
Right.
that. Investment came in from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure that I put my expertise in the game, make sure that I'm
Right.
able to expand and bring in the right kind of
Right.
and protocols, etc. Had support from my wife with her. She was working.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to just understand your mindset more. Those first few months that now you started this gym. How did you build the first center? And just in the slow motion, go through first 3-4 months. What happened? Like, did anyone show up on day one or it was empty?
Day one had a few, very small number of people.
Right.
I took that class. In fact, even before that, when I started looking for a location,
Yeah.
I didn't want to spend money paying a broker.
Right.
So I would just go out on a bike and just scout around myself. And came across, went to Kaikundra Lake for a run and came across this empty piece of land.
Right.
The security guard in the building where I used to stay knew the landowner.
Okay.
So that's how I just got connected to the landowner.
Right.
And I told him that this is an empty piece of land. We would like to make a gym here. And he was like, you want to make a gym here? What kind of a gym will you make? This? He wasn't able to understand.
Right.
I said, yeah, just give me the space. And it was one reason why I also took that place up was while it was a little inside.
Right.
On the road. And initial mindset was get something on the main road so people are able to see. But then the reason I took that place up was also because the rentals were very, very cheap.
How much rent were you paying for that?
Paying about 27-28 rupees a square feet compared to what's there in the market. It's very cheap. In fact, we also took up the land behind where we made Cult.
Yeah, I remember I eventually built the I think outdoor soccer training thing, right?
The outdoor thing there. Because the rentals were cheap, I think that was one comfort, that we'll not have too much expense from day one. And we could use that to get better trainers from other countries. We also got them in accommodation. So all that expenses I wanted to figure out, and hence cheap rental helped. Once that happened, I just got in touch with a few vendors. It was more like I told them I really don't have too much money, so I want to figure cheap and stable arrangements for creating their entire shed and the structure. That took about, it took fairly, compared to the amount of time we take right now to put up a Cult center, it was so much more than that. It took me about 5-6 months to get the first structure up and running. Also in the process, what happened was, I said, I didn't want to spend money on a designer, honestly. So I did the designing.
It showed later on when we got involved.
Later on when a lot of changes happened. So I did a lot of things on a piece of paper, and I went to the site on these construction engineers and all are working, and I was shocked that they're using my paper as the one that I've drawn,
engineering design
as their engineering architectural document. So did all of that, and then because I made that design, I really didn't have that design sense to put up a building. So I made some mistakes, and then they constructed one bathroom somewhere, and I was like, no, now we'll have to break it. So those guys were also like shocked, but then they were easy on me because they realized that this guy doesn't know much about putting up buildings and things. So we did that. We constructed bathrooms, broke it somewhere else. Eventually we broke it later, and then better ones when Cult.Fit happened. So all of that took 5 to 6 months. We put up a big poster on that
front facade.
It was just a temporary poster, just so that people know that something's coming up. I started just go to the lake and started talking to people, telling them that this place is coming up. It had good visibility from the lake. A lot of people were coming. The first member that signed up gave me a check of 500 rupees. I'm so happy that now something has started at least. We got some 5-6 signups before we started. Some 3 or 4 people showed up the first day.
Nobody got injured.
That day nobody got.
Okay.
No, that day. Unfortunately,
they were the fortunate ones.
Unfortunately, yours was the first injury that happened in Cult.
Can you just talk about those 5-6 trainers? Because I remember first time I went in, there are 100%, nearly 100% is foreign trainers.
Yes.
Who were they? Where were they from? Where were they from?
Yeah, so there was Kru Yo who came from Thailand. He was one of my Muay Thai trainers while I used to travel. Very sweet guy. People loved him. Very fit guy. He would take classes shirtless. And that's the Thailand Muay Thai culture. He would wear his Muay Thai shorts and take classes like that. He couldn't speak Hindi or English, but still communicated really well with members. Kru Tom was another one who came from Bangkok. I got connected through Kru Yo.
So Rishabh, we agreed to take Cult forward together. I think that was a big decision on your part. Definitely a big decision on my part and Ankit, who was my co-founder at that time. I really felt there was a nugget of genuine originality in what you were building at Cult. And one of the things at the core of that was just the highly trainer-centric culture. Trainers were everything. In fact, again, going back to Kru Yo for a second, he had a very unique style of training people and rituals, which we eventually built on and became a big part of, Cult culture.
Yeah.
But can you talk about just his unique style of training people?
Yeah, I think I actually have. So yeah, we spoke about the fact that Kru is Guru, and in Thailand there is also a culture of joining hands and greeting everybody at the end of the session. So that automatically became a ritual,
Right,
in Cult because we didn't ritualize things by design. We just wanted to bring in their uniqueness.
right.
So Kru Yo, at the end of the class, everybody would line up, all the members, and Kru Yo would stand and say something in Thai.
Okay.
Nobody would understand anything. But everybody knew that it's coming from the heart and they were always super happy about it. And he would just make sure that he bows down for everybody and everybody else does that also. Because I wanted to know if, being here, he's happy or unhappy.
Right.
He wouldn't be very upfront about it. Otherwise, if I ask him also. So his Facebook page was more of my pulse check for his happiness. So, and he used to write in Thai.
Yeah.
So what I used to do was I used to translate that into English and see what is he saying. So one day I saw a picture of everybody lined up.
Okay.
Kru Yo, it was a nice picture. Kru Yo was standing with his hands like this, and it was something in Thai. So I took it and it said, I have done Muay Thai all my life.
Yeah.
I have never gone to school. Everybody standing here is so educated. They are probably CEOs and this and that and doing so well in life. And they still listen to me. They still follow my instructions.
Yeah.
And that is because of Muay Thai. So that was quite funny at that time.
No, incredible. And I think he also had a very unique way of dealing the class. I have done a bunch of classes with him, and he had once I'll be done with the class and absolutely exhausted and couldn't even do one more push-up. He will ask me to do 100 push-up at least. Not push-up, sorry, 100 crunches. And crunches also, okay, you can pull it off. But he would, the moment you start, he will take the boxing glove and bang it on your abs again and again. That's his way of training for abs. Huh?
Yes, so in fact, in Thailand, I've been hit a lot of times while training.
With boxing glove or something else?
With the pad that they use for
training pad, okay.
And Kru Yo, by the way, in his sessions, we've never had injuries.
Right.
He was very considerate otherwise, and he would, because he's done it for so many years, he would just understand people so well. So I'm sure he understood that you take it, and that's why he was, having you go through that kind of grind. But then he would make sure that in a group class, that everybody is working on at the right intensity for them.
Sure.
And everybody has a different threshold. So in the end of the class, everybody would get great experiences. And then there were instances like when people, they get tired, they say things like, oh damn, oh shit, oh fuck. And Kru Yo he didn't like, like I said, he came from a very traditional culture. So he would stop whenever somebody would say like that. Mm-hmm. In my class, no shit, no fuck. People would apologize. So I mean, when we used to look at it, while he was doing class, it was very funny for us. And in fact, some of our older folks would still try to copy.
So he was able to bring out that intensity and bring out the best in people, push them, but not to the extent they get injured, and also maintain certain decorum.
Yes.
Which is pretty much, in some ways what cult eventually became.
Yeah.
So in his own way, he contributed to the, culture of cult.
Great.
So now, Rishabh, so I want to, maybe traverse the journey a bit. So we started working together, and in the initial days, we made lot of modifications to what cult was. The MMA ring was gone. Center started to look nicer. We also had a logo that is not going to intimidate people, that only hardcore MMA happens here. But as we started building more centers, there's a huge need to bring trainers who are deep passion. And that's why I think you found this rich vein of, unearthing all these rugby trainers.
Yes.
So, for the life of me, I could not have imagined that India has rugby player, that too in smaller towns.
Yeah.
Just tell us about that story. How did you find those rugby players? And eventually, I think we got dozens, maybe hundreds of players who come from rugby background.
Yeah, so a lot of our strength and conditioning trainers are actually rugby athletes, and it's a very humbling story. So I got connected to this gentleman called Paul Walsh. He's from the UK,
Right.
and he was a British diplomat.
Mm-hmm.
Many years back, he came to India on a project. He was also a rugby player, and he was posted in Calcutta for a project. Realized that there is so much sporting talent in this city, but not getting the kind of mentorship they deserve. They don't even have the resources that is needed for them to play a sport. So he just started, in some way, a small group just to teach people rugby. And he fell in love with that process so much because he could see, smiles. He could see that people who are coming from an underprivileged background are actually able to do something.
Right.
Utilize their time better, and probably at some point may end up making a career. So he just thought that this is something that he wants to do. So he decided to stay back in India. Started this NGO called Jungle Cruise.
And he started this in Calcutta.
He started this in Calcutta.
Right.
They have an arm called Khelo Rugby also, and their tagline is very strong. It's like changing lives with an oval ball.
Wow.
And they're actually changing lives.
Right.
I've seen that firsthand. You've seen that firsthand. So it started by, I got connected. I went to Calcutta. At that time we realized, when we knew that we have to hire a lot of good quality trainers, we also realized that the good quality trainer pool does not exist in India. People are not certified. A lot of gyms where you go and see at the gyms, people may or may not be certified. There is no guarantee, and that's not fair. So we of course created a training academy and a certification process later.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to make sure that we find people
Right.
who are very passionate about what they do, who also have many years of experience doing something in physical movement, fitness and sports. And when I went to Calcutta, I met Paul. Paul told me that sounds great, looks like a great opportunity. Why don't you come to this? So there's this place called the Maidan in Calcutta.
It's a huge field, right?
It's a huge field.
Yeah.
And that is where they play. That's where they practice almost every morning.
But can you talk about who were these kids who were working with Paul trying to learn rugby?
So they were coming from, families that were working as mechanics or housekeeping staff or tea stalls. So very, very humble background. And what Paul did was just got a few of them, started teaching them rugby, realized that there is a lot of natural talent. They just run fast.
Right.
They can absorb too much impact. They are also very resilient, probably because of the circumstances. And what he also did was, when you're not playing, either you're playing rugby, when you're not playing rugby, go to other areas where you find similar people and try to convince them to send their kids to play rugby with us. And over the years, it's a pretty large community. So he asked me to come to the Maidan, and he said that I'll introduce you to some of the rugby kids tomorrow morning. I said, okay, fine. I went there, and first thing he asked me, do you want to play a game? I said, I've never played rugby in my life, and it looks too hard. Then it's fine, you play. And I thought, fine, I need to hire hire trainers, and I have to build that connect. So I sort of risked myself in that rugby game. I had fun though, I didn't get hurt. And I also realized during that process that all of those players, at least some of them who are still working with us, and I still remember that they were so considerate of the fact that there's a new person. They didn't know I'm going to hire them. They just knew that there's someone who's trying to understand what rugby is.
Right.
So they were trying to pass the ball to me many times so that I feel engaged in the game. They were also trying to make sure that I don't end up getting hurt in that game. And I really felt that there is so much care. I mean, they don't even know me. I don't know them. It's the first time we are playing together. There is so much athleticism. They run like anything. They do push-ups like anything. After that intense game, they did suicide drills, which is
Suicide drills.
Yeah, it's called
Sounds scary.
drills. Yeah, and it is scary.
How do you do a suicide drill without killing yourself?
So it's basically you put certain cones, sprint as fast as you can, touch the first cone, come back, touch the second cone, come back. Do it for a distance. In basketball, we used to do it to the
full court.
Basketball.
Okay.
Basketball court. Very intense because you have to go all out.
The heart rate spikes up.
It just, you can't stand after 1 or 2 rounds like that.
But Rishabh, just I want to just this what Paul did with all these slum kids in Calcutta.
Yeah.
Then that's a story in itself, because here's this gentleman from UK, comes back to India, relocates here basically permanently.
Yes.
Identifies all these kids from underprivileged background. From what I understand, a lot of them didn't even study beyond primary grades. Drop out of college because they have to work in the mechanic shop or help their parents or sometimes even earn for themselves. And he gets them into the sports of rugby.
Yeah.
And any sports teaches people the value of discipline, showing up of time, team spirit, pushing yourself, seeing the result happen. I mean, that's how incredible, that whole story is.
And I'm sure he's had a lot of his ups and downs.
Right.
He's faced some political issues here and there. He's gone through a lot of that, but he's stuck to his principle. He still does. He's still in Calcutta. I mean, you should probably get him on a podcast because he created a lot of impact. I really look up to him for what he has done, for those kids. And some of them are the best trainers.
Right. So you identified Paul, you built a relationship with him, and that became one big source of trainers initially, right?
That became one big source of trainer. During my visits, so I visited Calcutta quite a bit. In fact, I visited pretty much, I just created a map of the sporting India.
Finally, you're not going to Thailand and Vegas. Finding talent in India.
I was going to Haryana, I went to Shillong, I went to Guwahati, I went to pretty much anywhere, deep south, and I did recruitment drives in open fields.
Right.
I did because that's where we could build.
So give a glimpse of one of these recruitment drives. Let's say, I don't know, Haryana or Northeast. How will these recruitment drives look like? What happens during the day?
So we used to just first spread the word that Cult is coming to hire and such a great place to work for trainers for so and so reason. We had certain partners like Jungle Crows and a few others who would just do in their bits and pockets and get people aware about the recruitment drive. At the day of the recruitment drive, 4 or 5 of us from different domains will travel to that location and just over 2 or 3 days just interview people. And in the interview, it used to be like long process. People used to wait throughout the day. So much inspiration because you're hearing so many different stories. In the interview, we knew that we are not going to find ready trainers. We are not. There's nobody here who's just going to blow your mind out. There's nobody here who's going to impress you for being a physical fitness instructor because they haven't had that privilege or the kind of education that is needed. So we also went with a very open mind, and we knew that we want to see a few things. One, we want to see the fact that do they have love and passion for sport? Will they be able to empathize with people? Will they be able to, most importantly, throw themselves outside their comfort?
Right.
Because there are people who've played some sport at a very small level in their villages and things, and they've never had the opportunity to lead a class of 25, 30, 35 people.
Yeah.
People coming from a very sophisticated, educated background also.
Yeah.
So what they also will have to do eventually in a cult class is speak in English.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Right.
And we created a spoken English course for all our
Right.
for all our trainers when they joined us later. So what we wanted to see is that are they able to throw themselves outside their
Right.
zone?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I saw, as a interview design, whenever we saw somebody being a little shy
Yeah.
in talking, we would ask that person to go like 10 feet away,
Mm-hmm.
15 feet away, and give me the answer from there. I want everybody to, and everybody should listen to what you're saying. I want you to stand there and give me the answer. And people who actually, and at that time, I wasn't looking at whether or not it's the right answer.
Yeah.
I wasn't really checking that इसको कल्ट के बारे में कितना पता है.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't checking कि इसको स्क्वाट सिखाना आता है कि नहीं आता है. By the way, I was checking that also in a separate
Sure.
piece of my interview.
Right.
But in that piece of my interview, I just wanted to see if this person is able to talk loudly or not.
Yeah.
There were some people who were just not able to come out of their, of their.
But what I am picking from that, a lot of these folks that we hired as cult trainer from smaller towns, they might not have had the exposure, but somewhere the determination was there.
Yes.
And I think putting yourself out there, stepping 15 feet away and shouting so that, you can hear, and almost, their whole life is boiling down to that one moment. That in that 15 seconds, are you able to say something, which is show some confidence, determination, and as a result, you may get hired as cult trainer. You come to a big city, you go through all the training programs, and some of our cult trainers now are very sophisticated. They can talk really good language. A lot of people look up to them. Yes. Some of them are Instagram stars on their own right, and so it's and also I think it's also highlights the depth of talent in smaller towns in India. I'm not sure what was the initial trigger, but I think one of the best thing that we ever done was not limit our recruitment to big cities, but go out there, unearth a lot of this talent. A lot of them comes from a sporting background, right?
Yeah. A lot of them are boxing, especially. Yeah. They came from, there's this club in Calcutta called KSOPC.
Right.
KSO.
Okay.
PC. They have, they don't even have the basic infrastructure for boxing, but they have created good boxing athletes. Kamal Mustafa being one of them.
Right.
Kamal worked, Kamal,
he represented India in boxing, right?
He's been to Commonwealth Games, he's been to Asian Games, he's won a medal. He's been to multiple fights in Cuba and here and there in the pro boxing arena. And right now he's just leading the pro boxing scene for India. He's doing great in the space of boxing. He came from, he's the one who introduced me to KSOPC.
Right.
He was one of their boxers,
right,
who eventually made big.
Yeah.
And a lot of our boxing trainers came from there. While we were, to your earlier question, while we were also interviewing, one main thing for us also was culture. Because we knew we want to make a space which is very full of warmth. Trainers should look like that they really care, they really are passionate about fitness and sports. तो उसमें हम लोगों को बोलते थे कि स्क्वाट करके दिखाओ. अब कुछ लोग ऐसे भी थे कि मेरे को 10 साल हो गए, मैं यही काम कर रहा हूँ और आप मुझे बोल रहे हो स्क्वाट कर, something as basic as that. And that was a cultural red flag for me.
Correct.
You may be whatever you are.
Yeah.
You are in an interview.
Right.
And just do the part. And there were people who were very happy to do a squat, also say these are the points of performance. And those are the things we were looking.
No, I think we see in the other professional interviews also, sometimes somebody, let's say, who's a very accomplished engineer and maybe doing it and leads a team of 50, 100 people. And sometime in the interview, you ask a simple question about, maybe writing a small algorithm and people get offended. And I think that's a huge red flag because I think as you grow in your career, maintaining that some humility is also very important.
Exactly.
I think being able to straddle full spectrum, like I can do, individual contributor job on my own, or I can step up and manage a team or think a big picture, right? So I think it's a great test to see that humility and being able to, lead from the front instead of saying this work is, beneath me kind of attitude.
Yeah. Agree. And I think I think you brought it up in one of the workshops with you last week, that if you, whatever you might be doing right now, if you end up losing your IC capability,
right,
which you actually took my example, and in your case, it is taking a class. And that point really hit me, that if I lose that capability, because for me, whatever I am is because I knew how to teach people.
Right. Yeah.
So if I lose that capability and if I lose all the humility that comes along with it, then it's probably a problem.
So have you restarted taking classes?
I do. There was a pause in between.
Yeah.
In fact, before the workshop, I had restarted.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk about it later, but I'll just bring it up. That when I take classes, it is, first of all, it's that mindful hour for me.
Right.
At that time, I'm training 35 people.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. So
Right.
it's great for my mind. Also, there is so much love that people give back to you to Cult.
Yeah.
I'm just on the receiving end because I'm taking a class. I'm a trainer there. But the amount of love that they have for Cult is so overwhelming. It's amazing to...
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think, Rishabh, I want to also underline that point that, now you have 2,000 trainers who work for you, right? You can easily sit in corporate headquarters. You don't have to take a single class for, rest of your life, but the fact that, taking that effort and teaching that, one class every day or few classes every week is a very important lesson for anyone who's in leadership position.
Correct.
It's very easy to tell other people what to do, but it's very different when you go out there on the front lines and do it yourself. One is you maintain the on-ground connect, the ground reality, you're not getting disconnected. On top of that, you are also able to practice the craft. You are also able to raise the bar.
Yeah.
If let's say, you take a class and the class rating is 4 out of 4 and better be 4 out of 4, Rishabh.
It was 4 out of 4.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'll be disappointed if it wasn't, whatever you do for the last 7 years. And, it shows your team that there's a way to raise the bar. So that becomes a new benchmark for everybody, right? So I think it's a very, very important leadership, trait for everybody, no matter how senior one in the leadership position, to be able to do the actual work on your own and, set that bar. So, first few years in Cult went into building this entire trainer machinery. A lot of these people came from smaller towns, from sports background.
Yes.
But at some point, we also saw a lot of professionals who were working as marketing managers or engineers, quitting their well-paying job and joining Cult as trainers. Can you talk about that? When did the transition happen? Who are these people? Why would they give up their job at, Flipkart and join Cult as a yoga trainer?
So what happened, initially, like I said, I traveled across so many small towns and cities to do recruitment drives. And at that time, we had to work very hard to attract talent, to get trainers to Cult, because there was skepticism.
Yeah.
This is a new company and, why do I move to Bangalore for this? So we had to work very, very hard. But later on, there came a time when Cult as a brand was sort of established.
Yeah.
In a trainer's mind. Of course, in even members, people, customers started to resonate with the brand. But it got super established in the mind of a trainer. And that happened because of the stories. I remember the early days where you spent 4 hours in a day just in a small group between you, me,
Right.
Shwetamri and a couple of others, just trying to understand what can we do for trainers. Have they had the right education or not? If not, can we provision it for them right now? Can we help them get married? How can we help them grow in their career?
Yeah, how can you help them get a loan, right?
We did. And, when they move to different cities, what do they need? Do they need a two-wheeler? Let's give them an interest-free loan for that, no questions asked.
No, I think that reminds me, one of the things I feel, some of the jobs which starts at a lower end of income spectrum, a lot of times, those jobs lack dignity. And one of the things which is very important for me, I think, you've been great champion of that as well, is how do we create that dignity in the Cult job for all our trainers?
Yeah.
So things like, getting salary on time, on first day of the month. If you work for corporations, we will be up in arms if the salary doesn't come on first. But in a lot of the unorganized gym sectors, sometimes the owner will pay you salary, sometimes your boss, इनकम कम हुआ है, अभी सैलरी 10 दिन के बाद मिलेगा, और इस महीने instead of 20,000 खाली 15,000. All those things, if you have to, taking a loan will be extremely impossible. Leave, you almost feel embarrassed कि मेरे को छुट्टी पर जाना है. But I think we created that professional environment that it does, irrespective of income level, everybody, from the CEO of Cult.Fit almost every trainer, we need to have similar type of policies, similar dignity and treatment. I think that contribute in a big way to create, the culture and I think the relationship we now have with the trainer ecosystem.
Yeah. I think respect played a very, very important role. I remember in the first 6 months of Cult.Fit, in December when last 7 days we were taking it easy at corporate.
Right.
You and I went to pretty much every center to get a workout.
Right. Correct.
With the trainers.
So how you're talking about, because of dignity, respect, some of the people from well-educated people, with their BTechs and MBAs and, professional job.
Yes.
What was the trigger? And also, why were these people, willing to give up their, jobs earning few lakhs a month and joining it, I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000 a month?
I think it's just, again, there were a few folks who were very passionate about it. They also saw that this is something where growth can happen over a period of time.
Right.
Because, there is a company that's backing
Yeah.
the fitness culture in India. So while I start as a trainer right now, I can grow in the hierarchy, and a lot of them have grown.
Right.
At any point in time later, if they want to take up a corporate role, those opportunities will be there.
Right.
So people saw an opportunity to do what they love to do,
Right.
make meaningful impact. At some point they might have played a sport. At some point they might have been very active in workout, and they lost that touch. A lot of them still wanted to get back to doing something in that field, and Cult gave them the right kind of a setup,
Right.
which is sort of, there's no structure around how things happen in a gym, an organized gym setting, and Cult gave that opportunity. So people saw, they also saw the fact that it's a brand,
Right.
that's coming up. There are some of the most seasoned businessmen behind it.
Right.
So I think those things played a very important part in.
Right. So I think, over a few years, we are able to first, unlock trainer potential in smaller towns. Eventually, we are also able to inspire professionals to pursue their passion in life, that they can do something they enjoy doing anyway and also make a career out of it. And as our trainer ecosystem has grown, I think today we have nearly 2,000 trainers who work with us. Probably 5,000-6,000 trainers would have gone through the system. Do you recall any unique, story involving any trainers that has moved you a lot personally?
Yeah, actually many. There are many such stories which have inspired me. So there is this trainer. His name is Parvez.
Okay.
Been here for more than 6 years now.
Okay.
One of the players with whom I played when I went to
That in the Calcutta Maidan playing rugby. Okay.
he has huge legs, in rugby.
Right.
But this one's accepted.
Yeah.
So he was a mechanic himself.
Okay.
Has had a very difficult past.
Okay.
In terms of family relationships and relationship with his own family members and everything. A large family living in very small room. All of those things. Plus it's been hard for him. I don't want to discuss a lot of those things here, but it's personally been very hard for him. And then to come out of that, take exceptional classes, learn spoken English,
Right.
do the Cult entry-level certification, also the level 1 certification, which includes things like anatomy and physiology and all of that. And the hard work that he has put in to do that has moved me. Now he's had a bunch of injuries while playing because he used to play rugby.
Yeah.
And then he used to work as a coolie.
Right. As a coolie.
Yes, at the Sialda station. So he would cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But because on the way also he wanted to sort of make some money, so he would actually go in a rickshaw.
Right.
And carry stuff so he can make some money while in the transit also.
Right.
And then carry a lot of those things. Go ahead.
How old was he when he was doing that?
Young, he was 18, 19 year old. Go hit the gym in the evening. And then because he had to go to the railway station, he would have to go early. So 3:30 is when his day would start. So that kind of
3:30 a.m.
Yes, that kind of a grind. Because of that, bunch of injuries. He got a spinal injury and got a surgery.
I think we need to do a much better job of bringing these stories out.
I agree. There are so many. This is just one example that I'm giving. Which there are so many inspirational stories out there. So this guy now he he has a broken spine.
Right.
He has a broken knee. Bunch of surgeries have happened in his rugby career.
So I think while all the stories are powerful, but also shows the enormous power of fitness to uplift people. Because when you get into any kind of sports or fitness, it's not only your body that you are training, but you're also training your mind. You develop a lot of resilience. You learn discipline. And we know that, once you become good at any one thing, it gives you so much confidence that you can take the confidence to, many other things. One of my favorite, quote is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that way, this whole, just one act of doing one thing well, it just has enormous, and people can take it to their personal life, their soul relationships, their education, their profession. So I think, this is, what's buried behind all this story is that one trigger, somewhere they got into rugby through Paul in this case, or got into cult, learned the power of discipline, and hopefully, it's having big impact in their life overall.
Yeah, they've it's great to see how they work out right now. The kind of discipline that goes in there, the kind of discipline that goes in taking classes at Cult. It's a lot of effort to take classes at Cult, and we also, unlike regular gyms, we are also tracking everything.
Yeah.
So people can't take it easy. They have to deliver class after class, minute after minute. They have to be on top of their game. So it takes a lot of physical and mental effort, and even after that, putting in so much effort on their fitness and then growing in their career.
So as the cult journey unfolded, we went from 0 to 500 centers. We built this entire trainer ecosystem, and trainers came from various walks of life. And today, whatever cult is, to a huge part, is because the trainer ecosystem. Having said that, I think we also a long way to go to further develop the trainer ecosystem. The establishing fitness training as a legitimate profession and also clean profession. Doing things the right way, because trainer is playing the role of a coach, is guiding you, it's affecting your mood, it's giving. So just touch upon what will it take for us to have a culture where India has tens of thousands, lakhs of certified high quality fitness trainer who are also in this profession for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's going to take a lot of evangelizing. Cult has so far done a great job at it, but there is a lot more to do. So we have to be proactively evangelize a lot about life of a trainer at Cult and how there are many growth opportunities. Beyond that, I think whatever we do as fitness professionals, we end up studying a bunch of courses. The reality is that all of us do courses that are international.
Right.
And those, what happens with those courses is the language is different. Very exhaustive modules.
Yeah.
Very difficult for people in India to consume that and convert it into reality on the training floor. They are also expensive. Very recently, I was talking to one of the leading L&D players in the space of fitness globally.
Yeah.
And what I told them was, if you want to actually launch it in India, price it for India first.
Right.
Because, you can't just take a US pricing and apply that in India. People won't be able to pay for that. They won't be able to prioritize this. Plus the language and all of those things have to go through some sort of tweaking for India. So that is one. I think the opportunity is to create a pretty large training academy and an L&D ecosystem to churn out good quality instructors. Cult, because there is so much. There is so much to grow in fitness industry itself is growing a lot. Fitness penetration will only increase in India. Opportunities for them will get created whether in Cult or outside Cult, and hence creating that backbone and the skeleton of building great instructors is needed.
So hopefully we'll do a lot more work in that area as we go along. So trainers have been one part of Cult story, but equally important is all the format innovations. I think initially the core idea behind Cult was, how do we make fitness fun and easy? Until at least Cult became very active in India, the traditional gyms used to be very intimidating. It was, an ordeal to walk into a gym, and you see all this jock bros kind of people, pumping iron and, looking their biceps and, quads in the mirror and so on. Very intimidating, it's just fitness is something that pretty much everybody, irrespective of age, injury status, health status, can use. So that accessibility and making fitness just very easy for anyone to walk in is extremely important. And I think we have done that by creating, various formats over a period of time. So I want to go through a little bit of insight, scoop on each of those. So I think the first format we created is HRX with Hrithik Roshan. I think he visited one of our cult centers when we were barely into fourth center, I think JP Nagar Center. What do you remember about that trip, and also how did you work with him and his, training team to create, what became HRX eventually?
Yeah, so HRX, it started by the first meeting that we did with Hrithik Roshan, and of course, I mean, you know him for a very long time, but I mean, I got to know at that time, and I knew as a film star he's very passionate about fitness, but in reality, I got to know at that time that he's actually very deep into fitness, and creating a workout with him was a great opportunity. He's had a bunch of injuries that he spoke about in that meeting, and how, I mean, he's had access to some really good trainers, how all of them have put together a program that works for him really well and lets him, the kind of fitness that he shows in movies, the kind of athleticism that he shows in his movies, all of that requires a lot of all-round fitness. And that program worked really well for him. So it started by understanding from him, like what are the things that he does to work around the injuries. And he spoke about something called zero momentum rep at that time. And zero momentum rep means doing a repetition very, very slow. So he told us that because of his injuries, he's not able to lift very heavy weights, and he has to provide that kind of stimulus for his muscles to become strong and larger. He uses time under tension as a leverage to make that happen. So he would lift a very light dumbbell, but take 15 seconds to do a bicep curl. Or
so how it look like if you do a bicep curl in slow motion?
Yeah, it's like you're doing nothing. It's just moving very slow. We didn't do it that slow. We incorporated ZMR, zero momentum rep and cult. We made it a 5 to 6 second.
So what was this HRX format was designed for whom? And what are the core design principles that went into creating this format?
Yeah, so one thing that we kept in mind was that this is going to be a program which is around hypertrophy as a concept, first thing. So helping people build more muscle, which is of course very healthy in the long run. While they do that, I mean, traditionally, building muscle was looked at as people have rounded shoulders, big, large biceps, but that is not what building muscle is all about. You also have to be very functional at the same time. And that is where the element of mobility and flexibility came in. And it was not flexibility blindly increasing the range of motion. It was more about functional flexibility. So if you're doing a deadlift, your hamstring will go under a stretch and a flex. So we want to make you strong at that range. And that was another concept that we plugged along with the typical hypertrophy training. For hypertrophy, we used more than lifting heavier weights, we used time under tension, which is zero momentum that came from Hrithik's training methodology. These two, and again a lot of focus on recovery. So these three things put together became HRX workout in the beginning. We also had a lot of floor work, a lot of primal movements coming in, because that's something that Hrithik also did.
What is a primal movement?
Basically the
animal movement, animal flow movement.
Animal movements, down on all fours, moving like an ape, moving like a bear.
Without laughing.
Without laughing,
Or I guess laughing is also good for you.
It's great. It's great.
You can watch somebody else walk like an ape and you can laugh. So one guy gets mental benefit, other guy is getting physically stronger.
Alright, okay. So a lot of those kind of things to make people very functional. So people become functional, they also end up achieving some hypertrophy.
So HRX was one, first like a big hit, new format we created. Obviously, Hrithik, played a very big role. I think he was very deeply involved, very committed to, and I think his core idea was, I want to make fitness accessible to everybody. It's not only for, people who want to be, elite athletes or look a certain way, but almost anyone should be able to walk into the gym and get active. The second format we created, which I think became even bigger hit, is dance format. And to be honest, when we were starting Cult, I had no idea one day when we were running gyms where people come and it'll be like a daytime disco literally, where you turn on the music and so Bollywood music is blaring and people are pulling out all their shadi dance moves. Like how this whole dance thing came to be. Now I'm a huge fan for it. I think it's doing great job. But can you just recap the story of how this whole dance fitness?
It's weird that I was against it.
You were against it.
I was. I wasn't against this. Against is probably not the right
From
word.
crew you dance.
Yeah.
Long journey.
Yeah. So for me, cult had a very different personality in my mind initially, and of course it went through a lot of change over so many years. But I couldn't visualize people coming in and dancing in a cult center. So it took me some internalization to make peace with that fact.
Yeah, I want to tell one story about that. Not being able to visualize dance. So at some point, we do fundraising effort, etc. And sometimes investors come and we take them to cult centers. And there was the whole team of investors they're visiting, and we were taking them for field visits. So we went to one of the cult centers in Indira Nagar, I think the 100 feet road. And as we were approaching the gym, there was this loud, club music kind of vibe coming out of the room. And then I opened the door and there were like 50 people and then just whipping out all these dance moves. And it was not, on one hand, it was, very bizarre, but we could see the investor, their eyes also lit up, seeing that, people were so into it. Yeah. And I'm not kidding, one of the business analysts, he started doing like this, right there when we were watching. So I think it has again, a certain, emotion, when people see other people dancing, without any worry, I think start affecting other people. But yeah, let's come back.
It's so much fun. I in fact attended a dance class just last week.
Okay.
With a few other folks from the cult team. And it was good fun. If I talk about it right now, I was wrong.
So how did it start? Like you were not very enthusiastic about starting. I think Shitambri, who's a huge fitness influencer, big part of what cult has become to be. I think she played an instrumental role. So just take us to a story. How did you create this whole format?
Yeah, so around that time is when I think you and Shraddhamri started talking about bringing her in, making tribe a part of.
Right.
She came in with a very clear proposition that she built Zumba, at that time Zumba, and then which became dance fitness later. And of course, there was nobody like her. We met a few other people also in the dance and Zumba space, and there was nobody who could visualize the things in fitness the way Cult.Fit did. So I think that partnership worked really well. It started with, she was a Zumba master trainer in India. So she used to train Zumba trainers and certify them.
Right.
And it started with launching Zumba. The first class was in JP Nagar.
Right.
And she took that class. At that time, she was still not a part of the Cult.Fit team. She took that class. A few of other trainers who are working with us right now, also they came along with her. And that was the time we saw, I was there and Ankit was also there witnessing that class. And we saw so much energy on the cult floor for the first time.
Yeah.
We were also, at that time we were also seeing the trend that mostly because cult came across as a very intimidating concept, because there is martial arts and there is all of those things. Not many women were enrolling.
Right.
That was the first day I saw so many women training on the cult floor.
Yeah, nearly 100% women, right? In a lot of dance classes.
I mean, it's actually, it's not 100%. It's about 60-65%. So a lot of men are also doing dance fitness. But it's
majority.
Right. I mean, it's that ratio is the other way around in HRX and strength. So that was one click that, we have to do something differently. We need to make fitness happen for, like you said, it is for fitness for everybody. It's not just for people who are very athletic, or men, women, older adults, everybody, and we have to make it accessible. So that was first instance where I realized that yes, dance is going to play an important role. So that was the starting. We launched Zumba in a few centers. The format did really well. Now, what happened with Zoom, and then Shraddhamri became a part of the team, started leading the format, and of course, it grew with that ownership. What happened, what we realized was that Zumba was a lot of Latin music.
Right.
By design, Zumba will give you, because it's a global company, one regional song is allowed in the playlist.
Right.
So we could play one Bollywood song. So that was one thing that we thought that where we can probably do something.
Yeah, one can't survive without Bollywood.
Exactly. And when we launched Dance Fitness, that it's predominantly Bollywood and people are loving it. That was one. Second, we also, the choreography that Zumba had,
Right.
it had a lot of hip-based movements.
Right.
What we realized was that, mobility for our people generally needs a lot of work. So hip and ankle and shoulder and everything,
Right.
it needs a lot of work. So we can't really push them to very hip-related movement in a dance class. And if we do that, they'll enjoy it, but not to the topmost potential.
Right.
So that's where we saw an opportunity of
Right.
creating something of our own.
Yeah.
And that was the initiation of the idea of dance.
Right.
Now, it was a very bold move at that time because we were already Zumba was already valued.
Right.
We had a pipeline of trainers and everything was there. So it was a bold move for us, and we still started Dance Fitness because we very strongly believed in this site. And then Bollywood became a part of the playlist, like majority of it's predominantly Bollywood. Now, in fact, we have sessions where it is even more regional. We have Tamil songs, we have Telugu songs, we have Kannada songs.
Right.
And people are in fact in those regions loving it. So we did that. We also made the choreography much simpler. And, I mean, I'm saying we, it's Shwetambari and team who did that because those are the experts. I can't really dance. So choreography made simpler, music made more relatable.
Right.
And that just blew up. It became the single most biggest format in Cult.
Yeah.
And people are just in love with the format, the kind of community, the kind of vibe.
Absolutely.
All of those things are insane.
Yeah, I think now it's the largest format we have. Every day, I think 30 to 40,000 people come and dance in cult centers during daytime. I mean, how cool is that?
In fact, so it's while I was talking about like the simplicity in choreography for Dance Fitness, what I also realized was that simplicity worked really well for us. And I think you were talking about something like this the other day, that it's for anything, like excellence in general, just fitness. Yes, it's not about doing complex things. It's about doing simple things, but doing it consistently, forever. And simplicity for us played a really important part, which the example that I just gave about choreography in dance fitness. In fact, our HRX workout programming is also very simple. Simple for people to execute themselves.
Yeah.
Versus a movement like a snatch.
Yeah.
Which is not just one movement. It requires a deadlift, it requires a high pull, a shrug, and you have to squat under the bar.
Right.
It's difficult for people to first squat. They have to first learn how to squat, on both legs. So HRX workout programming is so simple that it will not challenge your motor control too much in the first session. You come for the first class, you will get a great workout.
Right.
And you will feel that you've done something meaningful with those 50 minutes. Right. And I think that was the reason why both HRX and dance worked quite well.
Right. Amazing. So those are two big formats we created. There was also a huge amount of innovation happened at the start of pandemic. So now, by the time we had, I think, nearly 250 centers, life was like really hunky-dory. We were this really cool hip brand, opening centers all over the country. Even in Dubai, life was good. Pandemic happens. All the gyms shut down. Business goes from 100 to 0. And we are scratching our head, what do we do? And then I think you, Shwetambari, Resort team, you guys whip up this whole cult live program in matter of days while, everything was shut down. In fact, lockdowns were in place. What happened in those few weeks? How did Cult Live came to be? And now we are well past pandemic. You can share, even if you did things you were not supposed to do.
So it was crazy for pretty much everybody around the world. Nobody knew what just happened. Right. Life is just under a lockdown. Fortunately, I think the infrastructure for Cult, the tech infrastructure for Cult Live was already working.
Right. That's right.
So that definitely helped. And then the entire team, the tech team and the training team and the ops team, and everybody came together with one single objective, that we have to create something for people to move while they're in a lockdown, because people have worked really hard to, first of all, get into that habit of working out.
Right.
And this is not good. Because once you stop, the inertia is going to be there. That's there for all of us. So we had to work on that war footing mode of shooting a lot of classes. So we did, while we were in lockdown, we got those cameras at our houses. So I had one camera at my house. Even some six, 7 trainers. We done a setup at home. We couldn't do a studio setup, but it was just whatever good corner you can find. Whenever you can find some good sunlight coming in. I made changes in my house, moved the sofa around, moved the around. Put that tripod and a camera, and I used to shoot. And similarly, every other trainer that I was shooting, I would be my own director. I would be my own crew. I would be the trainer on the screen. I would be the one giving myself directions. And in the first session, I shot the whole class one attempt. 60 minutes, one attempt, which was a lot of work for me. I went back to the camera to see how it's come out, and I realized it auto shuts at 28 minutes. Somebody had to give me that information. But either way, it turned out, whatever quality videos we shot at that time at home, I think it was a lot of help for people. The tech infrastructure definitely helped to get those classes live. Made it accessible on the Cure.Fit app to so many people. I think that was an example of how people working towards one objective can just learn things.
So I think in the matter of weeks, we created hundreds of classes, probably thousands of classes, right? And while people were locked down, Cult Live became one of the biggest fitness app in the country. At some point, over 1 million people were working out every single day. So I think we also, lot of celebrities also eventually work with us, right, to create a lot of variety of content that we use. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, some of the most exciting ones that I worked with was one was John T. Rhodes.
John T. Rhodes, cricketer.
Cricketer.
That amazing flying one-handed catcher.
Yeah, brilliant athlete. Works out like crazy. He also does a lot of surfing and all those things. But then it was so while celebrities, because they are not trainers, they are very fit people, but they are not trainers. And to train, they need to go through some sort of instructions or briefing from us before. We also help them structure their sessions better because what they know is what they do for themselves. That may or may not be right for delivering a session. So we understood what they wanted to deliver and then put in our expertise to make it user-friendly. So it used to go through all of that exercise. And John T. Rhodes one was, he spent 4 hours with our team just trying to understand a typical fitness customer. That kind of depth. And it came up in his rating. When you deliver a class face-to-face, like in a cult center, there is two-way interaction. You can check the vibe of the class, make a few changes. On a camera, you don't have that provision. It's just one way. So you have to be even more intelligent while it still has to feel like that you are talking to the customers. So to understand that, John T. Rhodes, spent 4 hours with us just trying to understand how to deliver a great class. His class rating was like 3.87 on 4.
Wow.
Which for a
online classes
interaction it's brilliant. We also had a lot of other celebrities. There used to be one celebrity class every single day, and they were shooting from their houses. Nora Fateh had done from her place. She's been engaged with us for a while now.
So Rishabh, I want to switch gears now and just talk about fitness journey. Getting into fitness is so complicated and so daunting for especially someone who has never worked out. So if you have to talk to somebody who has been sedentary all of his or her life, or maybe somebody who was active in high school years, college years, but now it has been 10 or 15 years, haven't really done anything to be physically active. How do I start my fitness journey?
Yeah, I think first thing is to, first big step is to just start, make that decision and show up. Once that is done, what I strongly believe in is that for the first week for the first couple of weeks, it's important to just move. It does not need to be lifting weights at all. It does not need to be doing extreme amount of stretches and things like that. The idea is just come, show up and do the thing that you were supposed to do and celebrate that. As long as that is happening, coming a little deeper into the training side of things, there are only certain ways in which how the human body is supposed to move, which are the 5 basic movement patterns. There is a squat and bend, which includes hip hinge and the squat. There is single leg, which is when we are walking, we are on single leg, so it's very functional. So when we do at the gym, things like lunges and all come into the single leg category. There is push, the upper body vertical and horizontal push. So our bench press is a horizontal push. Or in fact, bench press is lifting weights. A push-up is a horizontal push. Pull is when we do things like rowing and all of that. And there is rotation. So so these are 5 basic movement patterns. The idea in the beginning of a training program should just be to start building that mind-muscle connection and making sure that you are aware of these movements. Right. When we bend down to pick something off the ground, we are actually doing a hinge. But over a period of time, we lose that capability. We also end up, sitting for long durations at work. And for somebody who's not worked out in a while, what ends up happening is because of sitting, our hip flexors will generally be, it's flexed. It's in an active position. So they end up becoming short, tight and weak. Right. And because it's becoming tight, the movement become very dysfunctional. And I'm talking about a squat. So if the hip flexors are tight and I squat, my upper body is definitely going to fall forward. And that's what happens with a lot of people. So initially what they need to do is just start learning these basic movement patterns.
But how can people learn these movement patterns? Or see, we have to put this in the context of, in India, there are only about 5 million people, 50 lakh people who go to any kind of gym, including cult gyms. But a lot of people don't go to any gym. They've never been to any gym in their life. They're probably seeing some signs of, either they're starting to gain weight or energy levels are going down or feeling mentally foggy. But the initial inertia to overcome that, I don't do anything, I'm well set in my life. Now I need to have that initial breakthrough where I start doing something.
Yeah.
What can you say? Like, how can people start?
I think first step in that case would be to start small and simple.
Right.
Don't do anything that you feel is going to be hard for you in the long run. Eventually people will progress. When they work out consistently, they will not even realize that they become stronger. They are doing things that they once thought were impossible.
Yeah.
So the first step would be to make sure that you have your or if you want to go for a walk, you have your walking shoes.
Right.
Even if you don't end up going for the walk, make sure that you put those walking shoes on in the morning, because that starts connecting exercise with your identity. So whether or not you go for a walk, you put the shoes on.
Right.
That's the first step. Once you've mastered that, make sure that you are going for that walk.
Right.
The framework that I follow for people who are completely starting out or people who are coming back after a long break is that if you are able to just do a leisure walk for 20 minutes without having to take a break. In reality, there are a lot of people who will end up taking break in a 20 minutes leisure walk also. Now, I don't want this to be at an intensity where you can't make a conversation. It needs to be at an intensity where, if you and I are walking, we are able to actually engage in a great conversation. So that intensity for 20 minutes. The moment you've hit that, it could be 5 minutes today.
Right.
Do 6 minutes tomorrow, do 7 minutes day after, and just go to 20 minutes. The moment you've achieved 20 minutes without having to break it is the time when you can actually start doing brisk walking.
Right.
That's also the time when you can start thinking of including some sort of mobility and strength training in your routine. Now, a great way would be to start with a very basic yoga. Surya Namaskar is like a full body mobility exercise.
Surya Namaskar is not basic.
I mean, it's by basic, what I mean is that you don't have to go to a gym for it.
Right.
You can do it at home. And you don't have to do 108 Surya Namaskar, just do one each side. But it starts somewhere. You need to make sure that your joints are moving.
And basically, Rishabh, you are this ultra fit athlete and you keep going at 200 Surya Namaskar. I need to pull you back, man. I'm talking about somebody who has never done anything. I think forward bend itself is an ordeal probably today. But I liked what you were saying. I think 10 to 20 minutes of leisurely walk, every person able to do, unless you have a major handicap. I think that's a great starting point. Then building from there, you go from 20 minute to 30-minute walk. Brisk walk is a great idea. And so those kind of, tools, I feel generally, even just sitting down on the floor and getting up, sitting down, getting up. One of the things I have started doing now in a lot of my meetings, I just stand. Like and you have seen me in the office, right? There's 20 people in the room. In my one corner, I'm just standing, and and while you're standing, you're always shifting your weight from one leg to another. Blood circulation is better. You're burning some calories.
Correct.
So I think there are a lot of these things, where people can just start being little mobile and active.
Yeah, I think that's one great example. I think you mentioned this in Hacking Health also. Right, standing would burn X percentage more calories than sitting. I think fidgeting is a great way of
I can start doing this now.
People who fidget a lot are generally burning quite a bit of calories while at rest,
Right.
and are also generally on the leaner side because their caloric output is higher. So I think just sitting and fidgeting around is probably something that can be a good start that way. Taking just small walk breaks in between meetings can be a really good way of going about it. So if you're used to scheduling 60-minute meetings, schedule 50 minutes and take a 10-minute leisurely walk. A few hacks that people use is park your car a little far away.
Right. Yeah. Great idea.
So you end up walking up and down after parking. And
I think walking and stairs are available to everybody any day, even if it's just one flight of stairs. That's a good way to start being active. And
just try not using the elevator. If it is, of course, 1 or 2 or 3 floors, just try to use the stairs.
I think walking stairs reminds me of so my father is quite has always been very active all his life, still quite healthy, and he used to go to his office on a cycle, and in the morning he will drive 5 kilometers, work for 4 hours, then lunch he used to come home again on the cycle. And at the time, at some point I used to feel sorry for him that why doesn't he have a scooter or a car and why he cycle. But in retrospect, I feel it was great for him. I think he was exercising physically using a cycle. Now cycling is also available to all of us, right? These are things which could be first step to start your...
Exactly. This is something that I do generally after meals when I'm at office. There are these bikes and things at our office floor. So I just sit on one of those bikes and just easy pedal for whatever time I can make. Max 10 minutes. But if I have 5 minutes, I'll do it for 5 minutes. And I think this is what what you're also trying to hint towards is that don't go for all or nothing.
Right, exactly.
Even if it is 1 or 2 minutes of movement, it counts. And just make sure that you find the opportunities of doing something which is movement.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people get into a point where they haven't been active for a long period of time. So from there to go to gym for the first class is just a hill they can never climb. So you need to start getting in the pattern of movement and work your way towards getting into, so you can actually one day go to a gym and do something there.
I think that going to a gym is of course a big step for a lot of people. Something that I realized while I was at one of these family functions that generally I see people in my family and otherwise getting a little more health aware, and I saw people were tracking a few number of steps, and people who would in my my extended family, people who would generally be a little more sedentary otherwise, and I'm used to seeing them being a little sedentary. They're like, after eating, just walking in that room, in the hotel room, up and down. And like, why? I want to complete my steps. And I think that's great. Because it started with just the awareness that I have to do these steps. So that, I think, worked as a good
steps are, great way for people to just get moving. And now with all the fitness tracker, every single phone also has the accelerometer. So you can track your steps, and people can start even starting with 5,000-6,000 steps a day, working towards 10,000 steps a day. And you can get, quite crazy with that. I had a colleague of mine at our digital, Modern. He apparently completed a whole marathon in his apartment, just running up and down the corridor, God knows how many hours. But, if he can do a whole marathon inside an apartment, I think people have no excuse to be able to do 5,000 or 10,000 steps, at least, in their living space.
Agree. Yeah, I think steps is it's a great tool.
So now let's talk about some basic of training. Someone who's starts going to a gym, like the first day of the gym. What are the few fundamentals to be aware of? How can one ease oneself into where you are able to do your first bench press with 10 kg, or first dumbbell curl with 5 kg, or first squat with a back squat, and so like what does it take? Is there a 4-week journey, 8-week journey, 10-week journey? So you are able to do basic movements with some weights, without injuring yourself?
So in terms of timeline, it depends people to people. Scientifically, for somebody who's new, it takes about 6 weeks to build that neuromuscular facilitation. So that mind-muscle connection happens, it takes 6 weeks. All the strength and hypertrophy gains are happening. For you to build your strength and for you to build muscle mass, those things will only start kicking in after 6 weeks on an average. And there will be people who would, build that mind-muscle connection in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. 6 weeks is an average, but then, like I said, it depends.
So let's say, I'm starting out, today is my first day in the gym. You are training me. I tell you, Rishabh, I want to, I don't develop my chest muscles. I want to do bench press. From my first day of the gym, how long will before you give me my first 10 kg bar and teach me how to do some barbell?
Yeah, I'll probably, I'm going to assess and then decide, but generally I would take about a couple of weeks before you get on the bench and start lifting weights. My focus is mostly going to be on, rebuilding some mobility, get the joints to do what they are supposed to do. I know that, while again it depends people to people, but most people would be sitting long. Most people who visit a gym would be sitting long hours during the day. So I know hip flexors need to be stretched. A lot more work need to happen on the glutes, the posterior chain. It's sitting in a lengthened position. So we need to make sure that those muscles are contracting. We need to make sure that the muscles in the upper back are doing the work. The rotator cuff is doing the work. Because otherwise, we're generally working on the laptop. So it's anterior. We are driving, it's all again, and like that our pecs are supposed to internally rotate the shoulder. So there's a lot of dysfunction. So my focus is going to be on fixing that and making sure that while you're standing, your posture is right. So first thing is to make sure that basic standing, your posture is right. That will take for me a couple of weeks. And then depending upon how an individual is learning those patterns, I'd see if external loading can be introduced.
So let's talk about few different scenarios that people get into fitness for. I think weight loss is one of the biggest triggers for people to get into fitness, and I think this is a very deep topic. Probably will need a separate dedicated episode to talk about all aspects of weight loss. But generally, if someone comes to you and looking for losing some weight in a certain number of time, what is your advice? How do you think people can begin the journey?
Yeah, so of course that's where most people start. And if they want, if somebody asks me that I want to lose certain amount of weight, etc., the first step is to convert that conversation into meaningful milestones. So make sure that it is very specific. Make sure that it is they are able to measure. So things like body composition analysis. And
what is body composition analysis?
So basically understanding the proportion of lean mass to body fat in your body. There are machines like the DEXA scan or the in-body scan that we have at Cult centers. That gives you an exact picture. The reason I'm saying body composition analysis will be helpful is because otherwise it's purely about weight loss. When you do a body composition analysis, you know that there is so much amount of muscle that you also want to retain in your body, and it's the fat that you want to lose. But of course, not a mandatory thing to start with. The start for most people will be to just know where they are in terms of how much they weigh right now, and also start looking at inputs to achieving weight loss that is needed. So first thing is get active. Like we said, walk is a great tool to increase activity. Purposeful exercise 2 or 3 hours a week is great, but what is definitely needed is being active through the day. That's where the most amount of calorie expenditure also happens. And what I generally tell people, when people come to the gym for the first time, they're very motivated. And they want to do a lot of things from today. So tell me what my nutrition protocol should be. Tell me, XYZ things. My advice to them is start working out, because this itself is, you made the decision, let's stick to it. Second is, like, do one change at a time. If you have done 3 workouts this week, that is victory. In the second week, still do 3 workouts, but let's start tracking your steps. In the third week is when I'll tell you probably a few nutrition protocols that you can begin with. And that is also not going to be tracking meals,
Yeah.
because that's a very difficult behavior to build, not sustainable.
Correct.
In fact, one downside of tracking meals, I mean, I do track my meals, I log my meals. But one downside is the day I haven't logged my meals, it's like a nutrition washout. It's like,
Right.
तो
कुछ भी कर सकते हो.
कुछ भी कर सकते हो. But then for most people, it's just about being
Right.
aware. And that's, I would say, take 2 weeks of consistent workout, and third week start with nutrition.
Right.
And then slowly keep progressing.
So let's say someone, has 3 months to do something or weight loss. What is healthy range of what kind of weight loss you can target in 3-month period? And the reason I'm asking is sometimes, people have this absolutely crazy goal, wanting to lose 10 kg in 3 months because a big event is coming or wedding. So I'm like, what's your take on, what's the right way to approach this?
Yeah, I think about it would take about 3,000 calories of deficit for 1 pound of weight loss. It's actually lesser for people who are new, because for people who are new into fitness will take about 3,200 odd, because a lot of water weight is also coming in, so they see weight loss faster. But on an average, creating doing a half a kg a week, which means 3,500 calorie deficit, is very manageable.
So about 1 kg in 2 weeks or 2 kg in a month is probably the max.
It's not the max. It'll definitely be more. I'm saying this is sustainable.
Yeah.
Max can, of course, people go very extreme protocol.
But I think, if you can do 1 to 2 kg a month and stay on this for 3 to 6 months, you can lose 5 to 10 kg, which is generally going to be quite healthy for most
That's
people.
going to be healthy. That's going to be sustainable, because you haven't made, people spoil their relationship with food or exercise is because they did so much of it right from day one.
Right.
And they had to make so many changes in their lifestyle. While in reality, we can't live with those changes through our life. If we like to eat a certain kind of food, we like to eat. We've grown up eating that kind of food. It's just that I need to be more aware, portion size my food a little bit.
I think other thing I've seen is, and from what I understand from the weight loss science is, even if through some kind of starvation diets, etc., or extreme workout, you lose a lot of weight, it's not permanent, because your body is not rewired. That mind-muscle connection you talk about, your mind still remembers you, somebody whose normal weight is 80 kg. Now, by hook or crook, you have managed to bring down 70 kg. The moment you start to lapse, your body will kind of work against you to get back to 80 kg and probably get to 83, 84 for a good measure, because body wants to prepare. I don't know what is this guy going to do in future. I don't want to suffer again, so might as well get right. So those extreme weight loss measures are often counterproductive.
I agree. I fully agree. It's also dents, like I said, the relationship with food and exercise. A lot of times what also happens is that when people go on extreme protocols, maybe cut down carbs for the first 1 or 2 weeks, which will make them feel terrible, cranky and everything, because there are no carbs in the system. They feel they've lost a lot of weight, but they haven't actually lost actual weight. Because they've depleted themselves of carbs, a lot of water weight goes up. Because carbs will absorb water. So it's actually not, it's there. On the scale they see weight loss, but in reality there is not much that has happened inside the body. The right way is to go slow and steady, and that is true for weight loss. That is also true for bulk.
Right.
When we bulk, in gym, you see people doing bulk protocols, so they end up eating a lot of food. The mistake people make is they eat like 1,000 or 1,500 calories in surplus. And that ends up, of course, you build some muscle, but you gain more fat.
Right.
And you eventually have to go down.
Hey, can you also talk about, what is the range of healthy weight? Because, just because you want to weight loss does not mean that you need to have a 6-pack body or a beach body, just zero size body and so on. I think there's a whole range of weights which is healthy for a lot of people. So what advice would you give to people to arrive at a right range rather than the ideal weight?
Yeah, I think from a range, my advice would be to look at body fat percentage and healthy, if it is within the range for men, if it is within the range of 18 to 22%.
Right.
I think that's quite healthy.
And for women?
For women, it's going to be slightly higher, between 25 to 30 percent because they generally have more fat compared to men. But that's the healthy range for people. Going sub 15%, going sub 10%, all of those things. I mean, when I am sub 15%, I probably want to keep it that way. But then the healthier range is...
so if you have the right body fat percentage range, but you don't have, but let's say you have, it appears you have extra weight, that's fine.
If you have the right body fat percentage and it appears that on a BMI scale you are higher, that's fine. Because you have more muscle, and muscles, of course, good for your metabolism, right, for longevity. And
right. So now let's talk about muscle building, because that's one of the things, brings a lot of people to a gym, especially, guys. So if somebody who wants to gain muscles, right? I think, so I guess hypertrophy is the word. You're training your body in a certain way so the muscle grows in size over a period of time.
Yeah.
What are the high level, guidelines around a muscle building protocol?
So if you want to build muscles, you need to lift weights. Initially, it can also be lifting your own body weight, which is doing push-ups and pull-ups, which is pretty intense form of exercising for a lot of people.
Pull-ups is a very hardcore.
Full pull-ups is very hard. But what I'm trying to say is that it's still body weight.
Right.
And doing pull-ups will help you build a lot of muscle mass because you're lifting your own weight. And the idea is to basically create that stimulus for growth,
right,
in the body. And that happens when the protocol basically is for every muscle group, 12 to 15 working sets per week.
Yeah.
So what science tells us is that if for a particular muscle, you're doing more than 10 working sets, then split it over 2 different days.
Right.
Don't do 12 sets or 15 sets or 20 sets for just quarter sets on one day. That is going to be counted.
So can you define what is a working set?
A working set is when you are at a certain amount of weight at which you are getting the right stimulus for muscle growth. It can be between the range of 5 to 30 repetitions.
Okay.
But you are close to muscle failure. Right. If you are lifting less weights, which means that you are going up to 25, 26, 27 reps, then it is advisable to go until full failure.
Right.
Which means X amount of weight, 25 repetitions, but you could not have done the 26 reps.
Sure.
Or if you are lifting moderately heavy, which is probably more than 65% of your capacity, and you will stay within the range of 8 to 12 reps because you are lifting heavier. In that case, it's best to keep 2 reps in reserve. So you stop at 10 if you could have done 12.
Right. Got it. So 8 to 10 or 10 to 12 working sets per...
12 to 15 working sets per week.
Per week, per major muscle group.
Per muscle group.
How many major muscle groups do we have?
So we're going to be... It's basically going to be... The workout will be divided like a leg day, which is quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes. Then will be a push workout, which is your chest, triceps, and shoulders. So basically the deltoids and the legs and the triceps. The pull day, which has the lats and your biceps, the back and the biceps.
And if I cover all these muscle groups once a week, that's sufficient.
So if your working sets are more than 10, it's best to do it twice in a week.
Twice in a week, okay.
So, and divide those sets, do 6 each time instead of doing 12 together. And the best way to split that will be do a leg, push, pull, day 1, day 2, day 3.
Right.
Take a rest. Then do again legs on the 4th day. And do a upper body workout, which includes both push and pull.
So Rishabh, what we'll do, we'll come back on this topic probably in subsequent episodes and create a very detailed protocol for different people, because it's we are just covering, skimming the surface right now, because I understand there are a lot of complications and variation and nuances. But suffices to say that for somebody who's a beginner in the first year of journey, I think hitting each muscle group once a week is also probably okay. People will see the result. People who are slightly more advanced, who already got the form and function right, for them probably, hitting each muscle group twice a week will probably produce
and then
better
there
results.
Will be recovery as an input. Right. That's very deep as a subject.
Yeah.
There will be nutrition as an input for muscle building. We can definitely cover all of those things.
No, absolutely. I look forward to it. I think it's fascinating to cover, all this topic in a lot of detail, and I understand there's a lot of science to it, a lot of best practices around this, a lot of do's and don'ts, and also a lot of myths people have about this. So it'll be great to dispel all of that. But I want to cover one more aspect of training. Now, we talked about weight loss, we talked about strength training, people want to gain muscle, but a lot of people have this kind of endurance training targets. I want to run half marathon.
Yeah.
I want to run a full marathon. I want to trek to the base of Mount Everest and so on. Or even I want to do, Ironman. What kind of, how should one approach, especially someone who's just moderately active, but want to do an Ironman in 1 or 2 years? Is it even doable? And if it's doable, how can I prepare for it?
Yeah. So 2 years is actually quite a bit of time. If consistent training and right kind of program design is happening, 2 years people should be able to achieve these kind of goals. Now again, endurance training will be another such topic where we'll have to go deeper.
Right.
But to just talk high level, for endurance training, it's again very people to people.
Yeah.
Conditioning levels for you will be different. For me, it's different. For everyone else, it's going to be very different. So what we need to identify for each person is something called the ventilatory thresholds.
Mm-hmm.
Ventilatory thresholds are, so basically when I'm working out, there are 3 different levels of intensity.
Right.
Let's say I start walking or running, my heart rate is going to start going up at a very steady pace. There will come an inflection point where it will just go, it will change the track and it will go significantly higher.
Right.
And that's my ventilatory threshold 1.
Yeah.
VT1. There will, when I increase the intensity slightly, there will come second inflection point where it will go even higher.
Right.
And that point is my ventilatory threshold 2.
Right.
So the first section is my zone 1.
Right.
In the middle between VT1 and VT2 is my zone 2.
Yeah.
Ahead of VT2 is my zone 3.
Right.
Now, if you want to do something like a marathon,
Yeah.
something like an Ironman,
Yeah.
which is very long distance.
Right.
So you need to be able to build your aerobic capacity.
Mhm.
A lot of your training volume, the amount of working sets and repetitions and everything has to be in the zone 2.
Right.
So the intervals will be between you do so much of zone 2, so much of zone 1.
Right.
And what we'll try to do is over a period of time, increase the amount of zone 2 time that you're spending in a week.
Yeah.
Versus a CrossFit or that kind of a sport where you have to really,
Right.
go all out. Or weightlifting.
Right.
Because entire amount of energy in just that moment. We'll have to do a lot of zone 3 training where you're pushing your heart rate above 95.
Yeah. I think it'd be great to, talk about this in a lot more detail, because a lot of people have ambition of, either running a 10K if they have not done that, or half marathon, which is 21 kilometers, or full marathon, which is 42 kilometers. Beyond health benefit, I think is a huge self-esteem benefits. When people finish their first half marathon or first full marathon, they feel so good about themselves. It feels like a huge milestone, and that confidence percolates into every aspect of their life. So it's, I think, worth coming back and talking about detailed protocol. Hopefully we can inspire a lot of people to take on 10K, half marathon, full marathon, those kind of goals.
I agree. And a lot of times people feel that I'll get better at running if I just keep running.
Yeah.
Which is fair because it's, specific to what you want to do. But then to condition your heart, it's just best to follow the kind of program design that I was talking about, and a proxy for that if you don't know your ventilatory threshold, because you will need to administer.
Right.
Some trained professional will have to check.
Right.
And in gyms, we do that informal talk test on the treadmill. So the trainer is making you walk on the treadmill and talking to you.
Yeah.
It's because the trainer is trying to just understand where your sentences become unequal.
Yeah.
A proxy is that intensity at which I'm able to make a conversation is my zone 1.
Right.
Intensity at which I can make sentences but unequivocal is my zone 2.
Right.
Intensity at which I'm like, I can't talk right now is my zone.
Right.
So people who want to do long distances should just basically interval between where they're making sentences unequivocally and able to talk.
Yeah. I think, we can, on all these aspects of fitness, again, we can easily geek out, and we will. Everything from, VO2 max to slow twitch muscle to fast twitch muscle and so on. But, how does lactic acid buildup happens in a long distance training and so on. But I think, the key point we're trying to make in this session is fitness is one of the foundational cornerstone of an overall healthy lifestyle. And healthy lifestyle is something is very, very important for endurance and staying power in anything. Even your everyday work requires us to be literally on our toes all day, be focused throughout the day, have the energy, motivation and so on. And fitness plays a huge role in enabling that. Have you seen it, having worked out for last 25 years, what role fitness has played into your own other walks of your life, whether personal or professional?
I think for me, fitness has been a keystone. So there is, I mentioned before, I just started working out for different reasons, and then I fell in love with the process, and I'm so addicted to it and it's so much a part of my identity that if I don't work out, I just feel very incomplete.
Yeah.
But fitness for me has, there's this concept of keystone behavior, right? So for me, fitness is my keystone.
Right.
If I don't work out in the morning, first thing in the morning, if there is nothing related, if I don't front load my day with movement and lifting weights, then the rest of the day is a very suboptimal quality. My productivity at work, how I am, at home, all those things become very, very suboptimal, like I said. And the days that I've worked out, everything is on track. Like I would come back, I would spend good quality time with my son. I would go to office on time, do my work properly, be able to wrap up things on time, not carry over things back at home. So that's the kind of impact that it has on me every single day.
But it has been a fascinating conversation, Rishabh. I think I really enjoyed going down the memory lane, recalling, the earlier days of Cult. I think what we all together went through. I think the stories of the trainers who have made Cult what it is, absolutely fascinating, deserves its own treatment at the, right time. But we covered today in a broad spectrum of what all goes into enabling fitness. I think my takeaway is fitness for everybody. Starting fitness journey is not the difficult. You just need to start with the baby steps, start small, but it's going to do wonders in your life. I think the impact on your mood, your own self-esteem, how you look, how your long-term health outcome is. And for me, what's most important is that translating into whatever your, trip in life is, what you want to do, the things you really care about, you will be able to bring in a lot more energy, lot more passion, commitment, and the long term, which is how, any impact journey unfolds. So it's been amazing talking to Rishabh. Thank you very much for taking the time and being here, and look forward to seeing you again here soon.
Thank you so much, Mukesh, for having me here. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and really looking forward to doing the detailed series on different topics and topics.
At SparX, we aim to bring to you stories of exponential impact. We share in-depth analysis of what goes behind success stories. If you find our conversations interesting, you can join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to SparX on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other audio platform of your choice. If you have any suggestions on who we should invite or what topics we need to cover, just let us know in the comments. We are always listening, looking for ways to improve, and keep getting better as we go along.